Shabbat Shalom. Our scripture reading for today is Deuteronomy chapter 27, verses 1 through 3. And Moshe, with the elders of Israel, commanded the people, saying, Keep all the commandments which I command you this day. And it shall be on the day when you shall pass over Jordan unto the land which Yahweh your Elohim gives you, that you shall set the up great stones and plaster them with plaster, and you shall write upon them all the words of this law, when you are passed over, that you may go in unto the land which Yahweh your Elohim gives you, a land that flows with milk and honey, as Yahweh Elohim of your fathers has promised you.
Shabbat Shalom, family. Our selection today, going down to the river of Jordan.
Oh, I'm going down to the river of Jordan. I'm going down to the river of Jordan one of these days. I'm going down to the river of Jordan. Going down to the river of Jordan one of these days. Oh, I'm going down to the river of Jordan. I'm going down to the river of Jordan one of these days. I'm going down to the river of Jordan. Going down to the river of Jordan one of these days. Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I once was lost, but now I'm found. Was blind, but now I see. Oh, I'm gonna sit at the welcome table. I'm gonna sit at the welcome table one of these days. I'm gonna sit at the welcome table. Gonna sit at the welcome table one of these days. Through many dangers, toils, and snares, I have already come. It's grace that brought me safe thus far, and grace will lead me home. Oh, I'm gonna feast on milk and honey. I'm gonna feast on milk and honey one of these days. I'm gonna feast on milk and honey. Gonna feast on milk and honey one of these days. Oh, and when we're there 1,000 years, bright shining as the sun, we've no less days to sing Yah's praise than when we first begun. I'm going down to the river of Jordan. I'm going down to the river of Jordan one of these days. I'm going down to the river of Jordan. Going down to the river of Jordan one of these days. Oh, I'm going down to the river of Jordan. I'm going down to the river of Jordan one of these days. I'm going down to the river of Jordan. Going down to the river of Jordan one of these days.
The oracles of the UCI, 1 Peter chapter 4, verses 7 through 11. But the end of all things is at hand. Be you therefore sober and watch unto prayer. And above all things have favorite love among yourselves, for love shall cover the multitude of sins. Use hospitality one to another without grudging. As every man has received the gift, even so minister the same one to another as good stewards of the manifold grace of Elohim. If any man speak, let him speak as the oracles of Elohim. If any man minister, let him do it as of the ability which Elohim gives, that Elohim in all things may be glorified through Yahshua the Mashiach, to whom be praise and dominion forever and ever. Amen. Ephesians chapter 4, verses 29 through chapter 5 and verse 4. Let no corrupt communication proceed out of your mouth, but that which is good to the use of edifying, that it may minister grace unto the hearers. And grieve not the Holy Spirit of Elohim, whereby you are sealed until the day of redemption. Let all bitterness and wrath and anger and clamor and evil speaking be put away from you with all malice. And be you kind one to another, tender-hearted, forgiving one another, even as Elohim for Yahshua's sake has forgiven you. Be you therefore followers of Elohim, as their children, and walk in love, as the Mashiach also have loved us, and has given himself for us an offering and sacrifice to Elohim for a sweet-smelling savor. But fornication, and all uncleanness, or covetousness, let it not be once named among you as becomes saints. Neither filthiness, nor foolish talking, nor jesting, which are not convenient, but rather given of thanks. Ecclesiastes chapter 5, verses 1 and 2. Keep your foot when you go to the house of Elohim, and be more ready to hear than to give the sacrifice of fools, for they consider not that they do evil. Be not rash with your mouth, and let not your heart be hasty to utter anything before Elohim, for Elohim is in heaven, and you upon earth, therefore let your words be few. Exodus chapter 23, verses 20 and 21. Behold, I send an angel before you, to keep you in the way, and to bring you into the place which I have prepared. Beware of him, and obey his voice. Provoke him not, for he will not pardon your transgressions, for my name is in him. Revelations chapter 3, verses 20 through 22. Behold, I stand at the door and knock. If any man hear my voice and open the door, I will come into him and will sup with him, and he with me. To him that overcomes will I grant to sit with me in my throne, even as I have also overcame and am sat down with my Father in his throne. He that has an ear, let him hear what the Spirit saith unto the churches.
All right, Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Which is peace on Yahweh's holy Sabbath day. Welcome to another holy convocation that Yahweh has enjoined unto us here in Stone Mountain, Georgia. We can tell by the things that are taking place around us that more and more understanding is coming out. Even though it is written that my people suffer for a lack of knowledge, those people, the powers that be, want us to continue to suffer for a lack of knowledge. And once we start coming out of the dark, we become more dangerous unto them. This is why certain things always happen to make an example out of somebody, that it might frighten anybody else from ever doing whatever that is. There was a reason why when a slave was hung, that he was left there. They had accomplished what they needed to accomplish, all right? They hung him, they killed him. What was the purpose of leaving him there? That purpose was to make sure that fear would set in the minds of all the rest of the slaves that if you cross us, if you do not obey us in everything that we tell you to do, this is what's going to happen to you. To this day, when our people are unarmed and killed in the middle of the street, it is a tactic where they say they are investigating the scene. In their so-called investigation, they leave the dead body of our people laying in the street for hours, only partially covered, and most of the times they don't even cover that for a while. Why? So all of those people will also learn to fear and obey. How they were able, especially during slavery, to always get the woman on their side, which to this day, they will lean toward the woman before dealing with the black man, even right now at this present moment. But how were they able to do that? There were certain children that they straight sacrificed, the woman and the child. letting that woman get all the way into the point of having this child, string her up, cut the baby out of her stomach while everybody watch, throw that baby down on the ground, kill that baby, and let everybody, all the slaves know, if you cross us, this is what happens to you. They automatically had the woman at that point, because every woman is going to try to preserve the life of her child. They automatically had us. We were already divided from day one. And here we are in 2022, where people can claim that they have been harmed because somebody clicked something on their computer or their phone. They clicked it and now they are so hurt. Yet we have had to go through, generations of turmoil. But yet other people can claim that they are hurt by some words. Now, when I was raised, we had this thing. They said sticks and stones may break your bones, but words shall never hurt me. Now, why did we have to adopt such a thought process? Because we had to hear all of these words against us constantly. Now, all of a sudden, a word can make you faint. A word breaks you down. This was what we would even say to each other. When somebody had something to say to us, we'd be like, sticks and stones. Sticks and stones. We didn't even have to, we said it so much we didn't have to finish the statement. You say that to somebody outside of our culture and they'd probably be like, so what, he gonna throw sticks and stones at me? What you mean by that? You ain't never heard that? No, I ain't never heard that. What do you mean by sticks and stones? They getting weapons, y'all. He said sticks and stones. They trying to harm us. No, we letting you know that your words ain't gonna do nothing. But here we go, that this is a symbol that you are so privileged that a word can break you down or a word can hurt your feelings. That doesn't hurt truly oppressed people. Words don't hurt oppressed people. Words help hurt privileged people. Run up to the privileged individual and say something, they be, oh, well, I never. A person who's been really persecuted, you say something to them and they're like, okay. They're waiting for the rest of it. Oh, that's it? Oh, you just gonna say bad things about me? Oh, okay. Yeah, I think I like this. You mean ain't no beating, ain't no imprisonment, it's just you just gonna say bad things? We would welcome this if this is all that happened to us. We would love for the police to pull us over on a dark road and just say, bad things to us. Just talk to us nasty and then let us go home. If that's all it was, I'd be like, officer, can you talk to me nasty now? Because I'd like to go home early. I would love if that's all that happened to us. If you get to cry foul because somebody said something, this, we would love this. So let's get off into this. If you look at the graphic, the title graphic, there's a lot going on here. You may see the flag, but I need for you to also see the Britain in that. All right, the mother. Then you see the so-called Star of David, because the Star of David is Yeshua. Okay, don't let nobody tell you anything different. Don't let anybody tell you anything different. When they tell you, this is the Star of David, no, that's a little Pinta, whatever the hell that is you got right there. That's not the Star of David. Star of David is Yeshua. Okay? Understand that. So, and then, of course, you have real persecution. You notice when you look at persecution and slavery, you didn't see a whole bunch of computers and posts on this graphic, because that's not persecution. So understand that. Now, the title is called The Provocation of a Foolish Nation, because this is what Yahweh said would happen to us. So we're going to begin today's sermon in Romans chapter 10, and we're going to start that at verse 1. So people always say that an educated black man was a threat. No, an educated black man who ain't scared is a threat. A scared, educated black man ain't no threat to nobody. He know what to do. He just ain't gonna do it. He know what he should do. He know what he ought to do. But he ain't gonna do it. He know what he should say. He know what he could say. But he ain't gonna say it. Romans chapter 10, and let's start that at verse 1.
Brethren, my heart's desire and prayer to Elohim for Israel is that they might be saved. For I bear them record that they have a zeal of Elohim, but not according to knowledge.
Right. And part of that is the push of the nations to make sure that you don't have the true knowledge of who you are and who your Elohim is and what he expects of you. That is a part of the oppression. See, part of our oppression is happening on Sunday morning, making sure that instead of reading out of the scriptures, we show up for a dog and pony show. We dancing, we singing. We make sure that we get the walk around as we are doing our tithing. See, just put the money in the bucket. But no, that ain't good enough. We got to have a show where you walk all the way around the church, you know. That way you get to show off your outfit. That way you can, boom, boom, when I walk through. When I walk through. Let's throw the money in there. We interested in that. Okay? That's part of keeping us uneducated. Because we done showed up for the show. We done picked out our outfit 4 days early. We was dancing when we were putting it on. When I walk through. Yeah, that's how I'm going to do that. When I go around and I put my envelope in there. For real? That's what we focusing on? Go ahead.
Were they being ignorant of Elohim's righteousness and going about to establish their own righteousness, have not submitted themselves unto the righteousness of Elohim.
Right, because we were taught the things about a personal Lord and Savior. See, he's your own personal. He's not dealing with the whole earth. He's not dealing with the whole world. He's not dealing with the entire nation of Israel. Just you. He's your personal. You got your own personal pocket God. And you can deal with him however you want because he knows your heart individually. Nothing about this broad law that he put out here for everybody. No. You got your own personal law. See? Because you got a personal Lord and Savior. Where is that in here? Well, there's a personal Lord and Savior. That he just yours. Because those commandments were given to the entire nation of Israel. They were not given to one individual for him only. And these are James' commandments. And I got these commandments for Tina. These are Tina commandments. What? Go ahead.
For Yahshua is the end of the law for righteousness to everyone that believes.
The end of the law of sacrifice. There's no longer animal sacrifice to get you in the right place with Elohim. Now your sacrifice need to be spiritual in nature, that you need to be able to repent and actually feel sorry for what you did. You didn't have to feel sorry if I offered the animal. What I need to feel sorry for? I offered the animal. I did wrong. I brought the goat. You sacrificed the goat. I'm good. I don't need to feel sorry. I did it according to what was written at that point. I sinned, I offer something for my sin. I'm done. Still didn't do anything for the heart. She's still looking at that other person over there like, I got another goat. I got another goat. Yeah. Go ahead.
For Moshe describes the righteousness which is of the law, that the man which does those things shall live by them. But the righteousness which is of faith speaks on this wise. Say not in your heart, who shall ascend into heaven? That is, to bring Yahshua down from above. Or, who shall descend into the deep? That is, to bring up Yahshua again from the dead. But what saith it? The word is near you, even in your mouth, and in your heart. That is, the word of faith which we preach. That if you shall confess with your mouth the Adonai Yahshua, and shall believe in your heart that Elohim has raised him from the dead, you shall be saved.
When you believe, there's some things that you do. A lot of people say they believe in having nice things. Get up at 6:30 and see who up getting ready to go to work. What are you doing in the bed? Huh? Well, I was so sleeping. I thought you told me you believe in having nice things. I do. I want everything nice. Well, why you ain't up? I mean, I don't believe it like that. I know. That's why you don't have it. You don't really believe. If you believe, you'd be up trying to figure out how you're going to get it. When you believe, you do. See, we have been tricked into you just can believe and talk. Go ahead.
For with the heart man believes unto righteousness, and with the mouth confession is made unto salvation. For the scripture says, whosoever believes on him shall not be ashamed. For there is no difference between the Yehudi and the Greek, for the same Adonai over all is rich unto all that call upon him. For whosoever shall call upon the name of the Adonai shall be saved.
So then what do the Euro Gentiles do after the doors open unto them? Change the name. They change the name so that it fits the gods that they already worship. We hear that there's power in the name, so they change the name. And people keep trying to tell you, and they know more and more people are understanding that that name of Jesus is a farce. And they keep trying to find a reason why it's okay for them to keep using the fake name. Because they have gotten attached to it. Because y'all know how we are. If you meet somebody and they tell you they name Pookie, but then 3 years later, you meet them at the job and they say, oh, no, don't call me that. What? That's all I ever knew was Pookie. Don't call me Pookie. No. Don't call me Pookie. We in the office. Well, what is your name? It's Thurston. What? 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 I see why you wanted us to call you Pookie. You didn't want nobody to know your name was Thurston, huh? Oh, okay. I see how this works. Go ahead.
How then shall they call on him in whom they have not believed? And how shall they believe in him of whom they have not heard? And how shall they hear without a preacher? And how shall they preach except they be sent?
Right. Now, so when people go into these seminary colleges and they get their degrees and all of those things, and they show up to people and say, I was sent. Sent by who? The people who Yahweh sent to Yahshua, not one of them studied at any school. Not one. He walking along the way. You two brothers, come here. All right, y'all too, come here. He didn't go off to the college where everybody was so-called reading. And he picked people that people would not have picked. Nobody would have picked a publican. This is a tax collector. Nobody likes a tax collector. So they claim to be sent, but who sent them? Go ahead.
As it is written, how beautiful are the feet of them that preach the gospel of peace and bring glad tidings of good things.
Now that is definitely not literal, because I look at my feet sometimes and I say, you know what? This is definitely not a literal. This is a spiritual statement right here. Because brother got some gators. Go ahead.
But they have not all obeyed the gospel. For Isaiah says, Adonai, who has believed our report? So then faith comes by hearing, and hearing by the word of Elohim. But I say, have they not heard? Yes, verily, their sound went into all the earth, and their words onto the ends of the world. But I say, did not Israel know? First, Moshe says, I'll provoke you to jealousy by them that are no people, and by a foolish nation I will anger you.
All right, I am going to provoke you. Now, provocation has its purpose. See, provocation will make you angry first, but better later. You might not want to be provoked, but that provocation makes you step up on a level that you would not have ordinarily stepped up upon. Provocation has its purpose. Go ahead.
But Esaac is very bold and says, I was found of them that sought me not. I was made manifest unto them that asked not after me. But the Israeli says, all day long I have stretched forth my hands unto a disobedient and gangsaying people.
You know, one of the things that I find interesting about, all of the nations or the people who claim to be Israel, they take all of the so-called goodness of Israel, but never envelop or deal with the negative parts of being Israel. I find that utterly interesting. All of the things that Yahweh has said about Israel and the things that we have a problem with, those things are not taken upon the people who profess that they are Jews. But all of the blessings that are said to be among Israel, these are all the things that the powers that be publish about themselves. Now, how can you have all the things on the right and none of the things on the left? How is that possible? Go ahead.
I say then, has Elohim cast away his people? Elohim forbid. For I also am an Israelite.
Now, here is where we start to get into some interesting things. All right? Because the narrative is being produced that's saying Jew, Jew, Jew. All right? What he's saying is, I am an Israelite. Okay, this is the foundation. You are getting presented with all of these things about, don't you do this to a Jew? Don't you do this to a Jew? Wait a minute, wait. He says, first and foremost, so let me give you the foundation of what I am. I'm an Israelite. Then he breaks down into the individual tribe that he belongs to. The powers that be bypass the entire Israelite part and go right to Jew. And that's the only thing you need to focus on. But there's a reason for that. Go ahead.
For I also am an Israelite, of the seed of Abraham, of the tribe of Benjamin.
Right. He didn't say his tribe first. See? He let you know the foundation is Israel. That's what I am. I'm an Israelite. After that, I will tell you about my tribe. What we hear today is completely opposite. And you find it on both sides of the spectrum. You find it with the people who claim to be Jewish, and you find it with them brothers on the corner walking around. What tribe you in, brother? Straight, right off the rip. It's tribal right off the rip before you even get to the entire family of Israel. Go ahead.
Elohim has not cast away his people which he foreknew. Know you not that what the scripture saith of Elias, how he makes intercession to Elohim against Israel, saying, Adonai, they have killed your prophets and dig down your altars.
Now remember now that this is a prophet saying what Israel has done. Now, so I ask you a question now. So who's saying this? So he says he makes intercession against Israel. So this is Elias, right? So he said that against Israel, right? So let me ask you a question. Was he anti-Semitic? Oh, okay. I just wondering. Go ahead, bro.
And I am left alone, and they seek my life. But what says the answer of Elohim unto him? I have reserved to myself 7,000 men who have not bowed the knee to the image of Baal. Even so then, at this present time also there is a remnant according to the election of grace. And if by grace, then is it no more of works. Otherwise, grace is no more grace. But if it be of works, then is it no more grace? Otherwise, work is no more work. What then? Israel has not obtained that which he seeks for, but the election has obtained it, and the rest were blinded. According as it is written, Elohim has given them the spirit of slumber.
Elohim has given them the spirit of slumber. So the reason why you can talk to some of us all day and we still won't hear you, because the spirit of slumber is still upon them. Some can read all night and they just as slow in the morning as they was the night before. The spirit of slumber. Then that makes you consider the great responsibility that you have that he allowed you to see. He didn't have to give you that blessing. He could have left you with the spirit of slumber. You had it before. When we was off joining every other thing, trying to join fraternities and sororities and this secret group and that secret group, and we thought we was doing something. Go ahead.
Eyes that they should not see, and ears that they should not hear, on to this day. And Dawid says, let their table be made a snare and a trap and a stumbling block and a recompense unto them.
Wait a minute. Now, if Dawid said this, and he's wishing harm among Israel, was Dawid anti-Semitic? Because he said clearly, you know what I'm saying? Let their table be made a snare, a trap, and a stumbling block. That sound anti-Semitic. I think he was anti-something. Read, bro.
What tribe was he from?
Hey, well, he's the house of Dawid is from Judah, right? So, you know, so he was. I mean, this pretty strong right here. What book is this? I don't even know why they published this. There's a lot of anti-Semitism in here. Who printed this Bible? We might need to sue them. Go ahead, brother.
Let their eyes be darkened, that they may not see, and bow down their back always. I say then, have they stumbled that they should fall? Elohim forbid.
Elohim forbid. Go ahead.
But rather through their fall, salvation is come unto the Gentiles.
Okay, now we're getting into the real meat of the matter here. See, the fall of Israel was the rise of the Gentiles. So then, okay, all right. So, fall, rise. All right? So, seesaw. Okay, here's the problem. We got the Gentiles who have risen. So how are the Jews owning everything? Okay, all right, y'all know how a common seesaw works. We don't have to get into engineering or anything like that, right? No calculus. All right. So one of them down and the other one's up, right? Okay, all right. So no matter which one is up and which one of them got to be down when the other one's up. Okay, so if the Gentiles are ruling, how is it that the Jews own everything? It's the problem with this seesaw then, ain't it? Okay, read, brother.
For to provoke them to jealousy. Now if the fall of them be the riches of the world.
Now, how can they be provoked unto jealousy if they own more than the people who supposed? Come on now. Come on, you said, come on now. Come on. How you gonna be provoked if you the one paying the salary? Read, brother.
But the fall of them is the riches of the world. Not the fall of them is the riches of them.
Hey, something wrong with this equation. E equals MC squared. That's what they told me. This equation sounded funny, huh? This equation something don't seem right. Well, I read this and then I look out my window, something ain't adding up. Go ahead.
Now if the fall of them be the riches of the world, and the diminishing of them the riches of the Gentiles, how much more their fullness? For I speak to you Gentiles, inasmuch as I am the apostle of the Gentiles, I magnify mine office. If by any means I may provoke to emulation them which are my flesh, and might save some of them. For if the casting away of them be the reconciling of the world, what shall the receiving of them be, but life from the dead? For if the first fruit be holy, the lump is also holy. And if the root be holy, so are the branches. And if some of the branches be broken off, and you, being a wild olive tree, were grafted in among them, and with them partaketh of the root and fatness of the olive tree, boast not against the branches. But if you boast, you beareth not the root, but the root you.
Right. So the condition of you staying a part of this is based upon how you treated the natural branches, how you treated the natural roots of the tree, being that you were grafted in. See, you don't adopt a child and then that child come in and mistreat the children that you done already bore. So now look, now you have to come in and be a part of this tree. If you coming in and trying to take over this tree, we're gonna have to go ahead and cut your branch off. Go ahead.
You will say then, the branches were broken off that I might be grafted in. Well, because of unbelief they were broken off, and you stand by faith. Be not high-minded, but fair. For if Elohim spared not the natural branches, take heed lest he also spare not you. Behold therefore the goodness and severity of Elohim.
Right, and this is one thing that we never want to deal with. We want to deal with the goodness. That's all we want to do. We want to sing about the goodness. We want to deal with nothing but the goodness. We don't want to deal with any severity. And that's what Sunday morning has taught us, nothing but goodness. What about the severity? We don't want to deal with the severity of Elohim until we get our personal feelings hurt. Now we like, I hope God do something to him. Wait a minute. I thought God was all about goodness and he loved everybody. And you're going to always be able to be forgiven no matter what you do. Why do you want God to do something to him? Because now he has done something to you. So God is your personal hitman. Jesus, skid him. Go ahead, bro.
On them which fell severity, but toward you goodness, if you continue in his goodness, otherwise you also shall be cut off. And they also, if they abide not still in unbelief, shall be grafted in, for Elohim is able to graft them in again.
Right, and the nations are spending everything, every bit of their attention and their resources to make sure that you don't get grafted back in. Because that means something's going to happen with their place. The place that they have boasted that they never should have been standing in. Go ahead.
For if you were cut out of the olive tree which is wild by nature, and were grafted contrary to nature into a good olive tree, how much more shall these, which be the natural branches, be grafted into their own olive tree? For I would not, brethren, that you should be ignorant of this mystery, lest you should be wise in your own conceits, that blindness in part has happened to Israel, until the fullness of the Gentiles be come in.
Blindness in part has happened to Israel until the fullness of the Gentiles be come in. And we understand that the Gentiles have a time of rulership. That means while the Gentiles are ruling, Israel is blind. Are you starting to see the problem? The Gentiles are ruling, yet the so-called Jew is not blind. He's not without. He has everything, even without walking in any culture. There's a reason why the cover graphic had Britain within the American flag. Understand, the Jewish state that we know of was given by Britain. So the very Gentiles who are ruling put other Gentiles and call them the Jews and put them in power. And as far as we read from Old Testament to New, there's something wrong with this timing. And we're supposed to believe that the same Gentiles who went in and destroyed Jerusalem, tore it down to the bedrock, all of a sudden got a heart 2,000 years later and went and got those Jews. And apparently they knew they put them all in Germany, apparently. Now, my book says that they scattered everywhere. My book said that they brought some and used them in their coliseums, and they did all of this. But when it was time to so-called set back up Israel, they only looked in Germany. That's rather peculiar, isn't it? Go ahead.
And so all Israel shall be saved, as it is written.
All Israel. See, that's what people do not want. Because eventually you're going to start having this conversation about lost tribes. Nothing makes an ish more upset than you bringing up something about the lost tribe. You need to learn how to just stop being defensive and go on the offense. When somebody's trying to claim that you're anti-Semitic, you need to understand where to go. Instead of spending all your time defending your position, go on offense. When I think it was Saul was at a point where they were coming at him, and it was two different groups. One of them was Sadducees, one of them was Pharisees. He then figured out that one part believed in resurrection and the other part did not believe in resurrection. They were both coming at him for teaching about Yahshua. After he then put resurrection in the conversation, he split his turmoil by 50%. Because once he went and made the subject about resurrection, those that believed in resurrection were like, well, wait a minute, I don't know if we want to go against him right now. So now he got them going at each other. This is what the powers that be are doing unto us. They're having us go against each other. Stop giving them the remote control. That's your TV. Take the remote. Go ahead.
There shall come out of Zion the deliverer, and shall turn away ungodliness from Jacob. For this is my covenant unto them, when I shall take away their sins. As concerning the gospel, they are enemies for your sakes, but as touching the election, they are beloved for the Father's sakes. For the gifts and calling of Elohim are without repentance. For as you in times past have not believed Elohim, yet have now obtained mercy through their unbelief. Even so have these also now not believed, that through your mercy they also may obtain mercy.
All right, as far as I want to go there. Now, it is clearly stated that blindness in part has happened unto Israel, until the fullness of the Gentiles be come in. The Gentiles are still in power, and the ancient Israelites are still suffering from partial blindness in connection with what is written. The Gentiles were admonished not to boast themselves against Israel, but history has proven that is exactly what the Gentiles have done. With the door being open to the Gentiles, they secretly and over time brought their doctrine and mingled it with the doctrine of Yahshua. We read in the Apocrypha how the Gentiles came into the holy city and built a gymnasium in order to spread their way of life among the children of Israel. Today, we are still suffering from the mingling of European concepts into Israelite culture. You know, one of the things you should do is, you know, on those same platforms, Amazon and Netflix, watch some of those documentaries that have Jewish people in it. And you'll notice you find the complete absence of culture that we know is written in the Torah. Yet there's gobs of money and all of this power and all of this. But you look at this culture and you don't see the culture of what's written in this book. And when you talk about how the Europeans brought the gymnasium, you have to understand what they did in their gymnasium. Absolutely foulness. To this day, that's why you go in the gym and you go in the locker room and a naked person just walk right by you and try to have a conversation with you. Yeah, brother, did you have a good workout? Bro, you can't talk to me right now. You can't just come up and talk to me like that right there. You know what I'm talking about? I mean, man, where your shorts at, bro? You just gonna sit right here and we just gonna talk like ain't nothing? But you have to understand, they come from the thing of public baths. Public baths is a pool with no clothes on. And this is normal. This is their culture that they brought unto us. So when you read in the book and it says they brought a gymnasium, you say, well, I mean, what could be problematic about a gymnasium? You need to study gymnasium. And to this day, you go back to school, some of the foulest things that happen in the gym. So I want you to go to the next graphic, brother, and I want you to read something, and understand this was supposed to be a Christian organization. And when I was little, I joined the Boy Scouts. I end up losing interest, and I'm so glad I did. Go ahead, bro.
Judge grants final approval of Boy Scouts of America reorganization plan to pay more than $2.4 billion in sex abuse claims.
That is the biggest award in American history. Go ahead.
A judge in Delaware Federal Bankruptcy Court granted final approval Thursday for the confirmation of a reorganization plan for the Boy Scouts of America on set to pay out more than $2.4 billion in compensation to more than 82,000 sexual abuse survivors.
Stop. Read that number again.
82,000.
More than 82,000. That's just the ones who came forward. 82,000. And my kids want to know why I won't let them go to sleepovers. Daddy, you so mean. I want to go to a sleepover. Nah, you gonna mess around, you gonna get sleep in. Don't play like that. Don't play them games. Now, we have a sleepover at the church, I don't get a wink of sleep. I march the halls all night. Hut, 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 hut. They be like, was the SWAT team here last night? Because I heard hut, hut all night. Yeah, that was pretty he's psychotic. He just woke up and down the hall all night. In the morning, everybody be eating breakfast. Then I go to sleep in the back. Go ahead, bro.
The Coalition of Abused Scouts for Justice, a group including more than 24 law firms representing more than 70,000 of the claimants, called confirmation of the final approval of the plan in July historic for tens of thousands of survivors of childhood sexual assault. The confirmation of this plan makes closure possible and some measure of justice tangible for people whose voices have been silenced for far too long. Coalition representatives said in a news release from July the coalition sent to CNN when asked for comment Thursday. The court found that the BSA's liability for abuse claims is most likely between $2.4 billion and $3.6 billion.
3.6. See, so they was trying to claim bankruptcy to keep it at 2.4. They said, no, you gonna owe more than that. See, y'all done played, games with these kids for a very long time. Go ahead.
And approved settlements that will provide for initial funding of $2.279 billion to survivors, $78 million from the BSA, $515 million from local councils, $30 million from the United Methodist Church.
Stop. When I was a Boy Scout, the Boy Scout meeting was on Clifton Road in Decatur, Clifton United Methodist Church. See, people trusted this situation. And most of these, this is especially where single parent households would send their kids saying, help my child to become a man. Oh, they was helping them all right. Go ahead.
And $1.656 billion from settling insurers, the release said. In addition to the settlement payout agreements to abuse survivors, the terms of the reorganization plan also require the implementation of safety measures and protections for current and future generations of scouts, according to the release.
If there's a future scout, he is crazy, it's all good out. Okay? But the reason why they said the implementation of safety measures, we're going to go into some of the things of the lack thereof of protection that was in this. Go ahead.
The judge had preliminarily approved the settlement at the end of July as the organization ironed out a few final details. This is a case about trust, or more accurately, lack of trust, Chief Judge Laurie Selber Silverstein wrote in an order in July, boys and their families put their faith in a lionized institution which failed many of them. These boys, now men, seek and deserve compensation for the sexual abuse they suffered years ago, abuse which has had a profound effect on their lives and for which no compensation will ever be enough.
Right.
They also seek to ensure that to the extent BSA survives, there's an environment where sexual abuse can never again thrive or be hidden from view, the judge wrote.
All right. Now, part of the reason why it was talking about a system, a implementation of safety measures, the first thing is that they had a red list. The red list was, you would think that it's like, a communist thing, because, they have this, this whole Boy Scout is like the next level would be the military. But what the red lists were the individuals who had molested kids in the organization. It was all written. They knew which troop masters molested which kids. They then put a red mark in the file and hid the files. If indeed that individual had molested too many kids, they would then move him, exactly like the Catholic Church. They would then move this troop master to another troop. So the Boy Scouts became a breeding ground for pedophiles. They would come there. Camp was especially a problem. They would lead these boys out into a camp. The Boy Scouts own parks, some of them like 800 acres. Once they get them out there, these boys are now by themselves with pedophiles who then pass them off to other pedophiles. So the red list, which was hidden, they had been paying off most of the things. That's why they make settlements so that they won't go to court, because the paperwork becomes public once they go to court. They decided they were going to fight this one boy's claim. They should have paid that boy. They didn't pay this boy. Uh-oh. They messed around and found out about the red list. It was boxes and boxes and boxes and boxes of all of these molestations, and they knew about all of them. One guy was trying to, he's 60 years old. He is trying to prove what happened to him, and he can't prove it. He has absolutely no proof. How about the box got his molestation in there, the guy who molested him, and other people that person molested? What? He was on the red list. He had no proof until the one guy sued him, and they had to deliver them boxes. It was in the box. The whole time he was looking for proof, they got the proof sitting in their stockroom. That's why they say an implementation of some kind of security measures. Now, let me see which graphic we on. Yeah. Where it says the average age of coming to terms of what happened to them. Most of these guys start getting molested at 9. The average age of coming to terms is 52. Some of them didn't live that long. They already committed suicide. The average age, from 9 years old, they have gone through this turmoil in their mind. And some of them can't have regular lives because of that. One guy said he was molested by a troop leader who passed him to somebody else. By the time they had got through, he had been molested by 15 different people in the Boy Scouts. And we have to understand, this was presented as a good Christian organization. This was the church where I was going. After that, I had to call my mom. I said, look here, why did I stop going to the Boy Scouts? Because, maybe I done forgot something. Maybe, I might have hit somebody, what the hell happened there? She was like, you just lost interest in it. She said, you didn't want to stop listening to your music to go to the meetings. I was like, thank you, music. Won't he do it? Won't he do it? So you might get mad at your kids, be like, all you want to do is sit here and play these video games. You might want to let him play them video games and he go in there and then play something else. Now, who's to say she might have been mad? He done called me to spend all the money. Uniform cost money. She was like, I done spent all that money on there. You know, you got a couple badges. But I definitely noticed there was a couple of individuals that wasn't quite right. And it was the second in command that had badges everywhere. And I was like, he played for a different team. Oh. But then you got people who don't have anybody to guard over them. But then you have to look at this culture. The whole setup of the Boy Scouts being, taking the kids and going out into the woods. Now back up to Trojan history, where they would take this, the Trojan man was gay. The Trojan man took a grown man, got a little boy at 12. He then took that 12-year-old boy out in the woods, molested him, but taught him how to fight. That is Trojan man history. They brought their same things from Europe, set it up right here. That's the only way you have 82,000 victims. People look the other way. Why? Because this is something they were accustomed to. Same setup. They would take that little boy at 12 years old, take him out in the woods. The women were used simply for reproduction. So, after that little boy has had that happen to him from a grown man, now guess what? Now he's a grown man. Now he gets his own little boy. And the cycle just continues. Let's go to Jeremiah chapter 1. He says, I will provoke you by a foolish nation. And people claim that they were harmed by a post. I need you to understand something. If this was their culture right here early, well, not too long ago, because these things, a lot of these things are just now coming out. Imagine what happened during slavery where there was no accountability. We always mention about the rape of a woman. What do you think happened to them little boys? And we know that system of buck breaking that they have, where they would get the strongest man and rape him right in front of everybody. Yet we got people claiming foul because a post was liked. That's a dream world for us if that's the only persecution that we go through. So as you go through all of that and understand that this is coming out now, understand what happened if they never had to take any accountability, because they never had to take accountability for what they did to a slave. Never. If they killed a slave in the broad daylight, the most they would say is, man, you ain't gonna clean up this blood? Man, we got to walk through here. That's it. Go ahead, brother.
The words of Jeremiah, the son of Hilkiah, of the priests that were in Anatoth in the land of Benjamin, to whom the word of Yahweh came in the days of Josiah, the son of Amon, king of Yehuda, in the 13th year of his reign. It came also in the days of Jehoiakim, the son of Josiah, king of Yehuda, on to the end of the 11th year of Zedekiah, the son of Josiah, king of Yehuda, on to the carrying away of Jerusalem captive in the 5th month. Then the word of Yahweh came unto me, saying, before I formed you in the belly, I knew you.
Wait a minute, that's it. This will be a problem with abortion. He said, before I formed you in the belly, I already knew you.
See, well, it's not a full baby yet.
Yahweh said he knew him already. Then you have to think about some of the blessings that you don't even know to thank Yahweh about. Like, Was it Yahweh that led me to say,
You know what? You should go listen to your music. Have you heard that new Salt and Pepper Jam? Boy, you should go home and listen to that new Salt and Pepper Jam. Have you heard that? You heard Cool J? He made that in my radio. Go on back to the house and listen to your radio.
how I know? I said, I don't even know to thank Yahweh for that because I don't know what could have possibly happened unto me if I stayed into that wicked organization. There's some things you don't even know to thank him about because you don't know he did it for you. Go ahead.
And before you came forth out of the womb, I sanctified you, and I ordained you a prophet unto the nations.
Before you came out of the womb. We understand that this push for against abortion is about something altogether different. We know that the numbers of Europeans are not reproducing the way that they once were. That's what the ban of abortion is about. It has absolutely nothing to do with us. Go ahead.
Then said I, Ah, Adonai Yahweh, behold, I cannot speak, for I am a child. But Yahweh said unto me, Say not, I am a child, for you shall go to all that I shall send you, and whatsoever I command you shall speak. Be not afraid of their faces, for I am with you to deliver you, says Yahweh. Then Yahweh put forth his hand and touched my mouth. And Yahweh said unto me, Behold, I have put my words in your mouth.
Right. So when the words of Yahweh get put in your mouth, you cannot be afraid. You cannot allow people to box you in the corner saying, well, you can't say this because that may sound anti this or that may sound anti that. If it's pro Yahweh, I really don't care what anti it is. Go ahead.
See, I have this day set you over the nations and over the kingdoms, to root out and to pull down and to destroy and to throw down, to build and to plant. Moreover, the word of Yahweh came unto me, saying, Yirmiah, what see you? And I said, I see a rod of an almond tree. Then said Yahweh unto me, You have well seen, for I will hasten my word to perform it. And the word of Yahweh came unto me the second time, saying, What seeth you? And I said, I see a seething pot, and the face thereof is toward the north. Then Yahweh said unto me, Out of the north an evil shall break forth upon all the inhabitants of the land. For, lo, I will call all the families of the kingdoms of the north, says Yahweh, and they shall come, and they shall set every one his throne at the entering of the gates of Jerusalem, and against all the walls thereof round about, and against all the cities of Yehudah. And I'll utter my judgments against them, touching all their wickedness, who have forsaken me, and have burnt incense unto other gods, and worshipped the works of their own hands. You therefore gird up your loins, and arise, and speak unto them all that I command you. Be not dismayed at their faces, lest I confound you before them.
So the objective of the adversary is to get you confounded. Then, once you get confounded, your Elohim steps away from you. He sees that you have fear because they're pushing at you. And he expects you to stand firm on the word that was given unto you. Go ahead.
For, behold, I have made you this day a defense city and an iron pillar, and brazen walls against the whole land, against the kings of Yehudah, against the princes thereof, against the priests thereof, and against the people of the land. And they shall fight against you, but they shall not prevail against you, for I am with you, says Yahweh, to deliver you.
All right. Now, our disobedience against our Elohim provided the perfect opening for the imperialistic culture of colonialism. In every country where colonists implemented their way, that country is inundated with division or racism. This division causes the powers that be to effectively rule over the masses as they fight one another. Let's go to Yohanan chapter 4. You know, I watched the thing that a rapper had recorded, and because of you know him having this money, he's traveled all around the world, and he said, you know, this black and white thing only exists in America. He said, when you come outside of America, it's Americans. Whether you Jewish, whether you white, whether you black, whether you Spanish. He said, you know, it's amazing that we're all divided in America. But when you come out of America, we all got to be together because everybody else look at us, oh, no, y'all Americans. Oh, no, oh, that's them Yankees. And he said, you know, that was surprising to him that it went that way. But what happened? They brought their colonialism, and that colonialism does that division so that they can effectively rule over one another. So this is that thing where I watched a teaching where this guy was saying there was no white privilege or whiteness before America. Before that, it was, okay, you're Irish, you're from Poland, you're this. There's no such thing as I'm white. That only exists in a place that has been colonized. That's why I say it's going to be a rude awakening when those who have enjoyed white privilege understand that that only exists in America. When you come out of here, it's going to be directly about, no. What is your heritage? They're going to be separated by, are you German? Are you this? Are you that? Okay? You can't just go to Europe and say, I'm white. No. That ain't going to work. And ain't no new castles over here. So, welcome, new slave. What? What? What are you talking about? No, you forgot. What came over was the poor, the disenfranchised, all of these other people. Now they've gotten a chance to rule. And one thing the Bible tells you, when the wicked or when a servant bears rule, the people mourn. Because a servant does not know how to deal with power. And he deals with it horribly. So here, the servants of Europe became the masters of America. When this experiment is over, and every man has to go back to his own land, they're going to have to go back to dealing with the way things were. That's why I said we don't have to do anything to anybody. Yahweh going to take care of that. Their own people going to take care of that. Go ahead, bro.
You know, when we look at it, I think we in the South don't experience what the people up north experience when it comes to that division of white people. Because you'll go up there and see the division of the Irish separated from the Germans and the this and that. We don't really get to see that.
We don't see that in the South. We just see white and black. That's all they show us here. You know, you have to go inside somebody's house and start seeing, oh, they got the crest of this and this and this. Oh, you know that you Irish. That part won't come across to us. You have to get to that special room in the house where you find the crest of their background, of their ancestry. See, that's what's going to be put back in the forefront. Let's go to Yohanan chapter 4. Hey man, let's turn down the Arctic air. Let's first take care of the Arctic, brother. I'm gonna need you to. It's supposed to be 80 degrees in a couple of days. See, this is also something that show you if this is supposed to be fall. Monday the temperature is supposed to be 80 degrees, and that's with them spraying. So you have to ask yourself, what was the summer supposed to be like? Why is it warmer now than it was in summer? Because it rained every day, 3-4 times a day. But that was fake rain. The earth is tired of the things that, now they want to try to make a mad dash to fix all of the stuff that they have torn up over generations. It ain't gonna work. 80 degrees in November? And that creates all other kind of problems. You got warmth where it ain't supposed to be warm. Now you creating some violent storms now.
But the earth is sick and tired of this rulership. See, everybody want to take advantage for everything that happens good, but when you are in control, the stuff that happens bad is under your rulership as well. So the condition of the earth, this is the time of the Gentiles. So who takes responsibility for the destruction of the earth? The ones who in power. But they don't want to do that. But you can't have it both ways. Go ahead.
Yohanan chapter 4 and verse 1. When therefore the Adonai knew how the Pharisees had heard that Yahshua made and baptized more disciples than Yohanan, though Yahshua himself baptized not.
Now we know that the purple people stop right here. You see, Yahshua didn't baptize nobody. And this is where they stop. And they get on and they jump on their Dragon Ball Z coats and they run out in the street, hoping that you won't read the next part of it. It's not even another verse. It's in the same sentence. Go ahead.
But his disciples.
Which lets you know they did the baptisms, but they will take that one part and read that to justify none of them getting baptized. Go ahead.
He left Judea and departed again into Galilee. And he must needs go through Samaria. Then cometh he to a city of Samaria, which is called Sychar, near to the parcel of ground that Jacob gave to his son Joseph. Now Jacob's well was there. Yahshua therefore, being wearied with his journey, sat thus on the well, and it was about the 6th hour. There comes a woman of Samaria to draw water. Yahshua says unto her, Give me to drink. For his disciples were gone away unto the city to buy meat. Then said the woman of Samaria unto him, How is it that you, being a Yehudi, ask drink of me, which am a woman of Samaria? For the Yehudis have no dealings with the Samaritans.
So then there's a division here in Israel. And within reading this, you see that they are from the same people. Go ahead.
Yahshua answered and said unto her, If you knew the gift of Elohim, and who it is that says to you, Give me to drink, you would have asked of him, and he would have given you living water. The woman says unto him, Sir, you have nothing to draw with, and the well is deep. From whence then have you that living water? Are you greater than our father Jacob, which gave us the well and drank thereof himself and his children and his cattle?
Right. Are you greater than our father Jacob? So you then understand that this Samaritan is an Israelite. What was the statement, the first part of what Saul said? I'm an Israelite. First statement, then lower down into which tribe I belong to. But I'm from the family of Israel. What's being pushed today is tribe first. That's what a Jew is. Jew represents the tribe of Judah. Go ahead.
Yahshua answered and said unto her, Whosoever drinks of this water shall thirst again. But whosoever drinks of the water that I shall give him shall never thirst. But the water that I shall give him shall be in him a well of water springing up into everlasting life. The woman says unto him, Sir, give me this water, that I thirst not, neither come hither to draw. Yahshua says unto her, Go, call your husband, and come hither. The woman answered and said, I have no husband. Yahshua said unto her, You have well said, I have no husband, for you have had 5 husbands, and he whom you now have is not your husband. In that said you truly.
Right, and this going to hurt a lot of people's feelings on Sunday morning. Because they like to say, those people deal in multiple marriage. They ain't seen how Yahshua count. He said, oh, you in a multiple marriage? Because you done married 5 husbands. I mean, they ain't here right now. But you got 5 husbands? I ain't in no multiple marriage. What you talking about 5 husbands? Right. That's because he counting all of them. James, Timmy, Jimmy, Luke, and Mark. But the one you have now, that's not your husband. But he's still counting all them. See, that's going to hurt some people's feelings. Because, see, we like to have that Christian count. 1 + 1 + 1 + 1 + 1. I got 1. You got 5, fool! That's how you count. You keep on counting like that. See how Yahshua count. Make yourself feel warm and cozy all the way up to judgment. and you show up with that one, thinking, oh, I'm good to go. And Christ said, who this fella right here? Well, it's my husband. No, it's not. That's not your husband. Read, bro.
The woman says unto him, Sir, I perceive that you're a prophet. Verse 19.
Keep going. 24.
Okay. Our fathers worshipped in this mountain, and you say that in Jerusalem is the place where men ought to worship. Yahshua says unto her, Woman, believe me, the hour comes when you shall neither in this mountain nor yet at Jerusalem worship the Father. You worship you know not what. We know what we worship, for salvation is of the Yehudis.
Now, salvation is of the Jews. Now, what kind of statement is he making right now? Because at this point, some things are about to get opened up. Because he's saying salvation is of the Jews. Salvation comes from the Jews. This doesn't mean that only Jews will have salvation. Read.
But the hour comes, and now is, when the true worshipers shall worship the Father in spirit and in truth, for the Father seeks such to worship him. Elohim is a spirit, and they that worship him must worship him in spirit and in truth.
All right, so we're going to worship him in spirit and in truth. If we're going to do these things in truth, then there's some understanding that we must have. So I want you to read the definition here. And it's important sometimes that you read more than one definition. So this is one of them. So I want you to go into the definition of anti-Semitic. Because, you know, what Yahshua said could have been labeled as divisive because he said salvation is of the Jews. Okay? Now, how can that be divisive? Depending on who you say the Jews are. See, if you say the Jews are them, then there's no problem. If you say salvation of the Jews and you the Jews, oh, you anti-Semitic. You see how the same statement is anti-Semitic depending on who you say the Jews are? See, it's anti-Semitic if you say it and you say you the Jew. But it's not anti-Semitic if they say it and it's about, and they count themselves as Jews. So let's read the definition, one of the definitions of anti-Semitic.
Relating to or characterized by anti-Semitism. Feeling or showing hostility toward or discrimination against Jews as a culture, racial, or ethnic group.
All right. So then that's their definition. Let's go read the next graphic.
The Anti-Defamation League defines anti-Semitism as the belief or behavior hostile towards Jews just because they are Jewish. It may take the form of religious teachings that proclaim the inferiority of Jews.
So you got to be careful what you teach. If you teach something and the Jews are not superior, you're anti-Semitic. Keep reading.
For instance, or political efforts to isolate.
If you teach that politically they have done some wrong, you're anti-Semitic. Read.
Oppress or otherwise injure them.
If you taught that they have oppressed some people, you're anti-Semitic. This Anti-Defamation League. Go ahead.
It may also include prejudiced or stereotyped views about Jews.
Okay, if it's a stereotype view, you know how the stereotype view they have about us? Look at it. You know, and everybody has stereotype views. You know, they you walk in, they be like, look at collard green cornbread chicken coming in. Look at cornbread. But that's anti-Semitic if you did to them. You know, they walk in, they go, oh, look at falafel. You know what I'm saying? Now you being anti-Semitic. You see how the same things can happen in other areas, except when it happens to somebody else, and they've made this term be like the term of all terms. It's just completely evil. All right? Keep reading.
Anti-Semitic tropes per ADL. Organization called on public leaders to avoid anti-Semitic rhetoric during 2020 election. Shares resource with candidates.
All right, so then they got enough power to go and talk to the candidates. All right, we y'all doing what y'all doing. We need y'all to talk a certain way so that you avoid certain things. We're going to teach y'all how y'all need to talk. Read.
New York, New York, March 12, 2020. Beginning this week, ADL, the Anti-Defamation League, will share a new comprehensive guide to contemporary anti-Semitism with candidates running for national office in 2020, as well as every member of Congress. Anti-Semitism Uncovered, a guide to old myths in a new era, identifies some of the most stubborn tropes about Jews, explains why they are dangerous, provides the backstory behind the myths, and shows how they have evolved into the present day.
All right, keep going. Go to the next graphic.
As violence against Jews is already at historic levels.
Stop. What violence against Jews are at historic levels? What violence? When we end up marching because we have had people kill our people in the middle of the street, wireless videotape, how many yarmulkes did you see out there? How many people did you see getting hurt out there? Is that historic levels? What is that? Where is this violence coming from? You see why there's a certain amount of sympathy that has to be gotten from some people who own everything. Because the Bible says what the ancient Israelites are going to suffer. When people proclaim that this is them, they have to present some suffering. Where is this suffering? Where is this violence happening against you? Go ahead.
It is already at a historic level if you know who they really are.
Right.
We call on all public leaders, particularly during this heated political season, to avoid invoking anti-Semitic tropes, said Jonathan A. Greenblatt, ADL CEO. The tropes, this guide explains, are the roots of anti-Semitism and have led to violence against Jewish communities around the world over centuries.
Right. Yeah. Go ahead.
Today, they are still modern drivers of anti-Semitic violence, finding voice in the tweets and public statements of elected officials.
Go ahead.
Or resonating with the extremists who carried out violent attacks against Jews in Pittsburgh, Poway, and Jersey City.
So never mind, all of the things that our people have suffered and continually suffer. When we build a community, see, this is how you know where the curses are and where they are not. Black Wall Street was a awesome community that we built. What did they do? Burn it down, then set laws that you can't rebuild on burnt land. Every time we get to a certain level, they come in, burn the whole thing down. And you understand why they do the mass shootings? The powers that be think that we're like them. See, all they had to do was make up a story, black brute rapes white woman. They come in with a mob, burn down the whole city. When they do a mass shooting and kill us, they're trying to get us to retaliate. They think we like them. They know, hey, you killed one white woman, we would have burnt down the whole city. So they are confused. They come into church, kill 14 of us, and they still, so they didn't fight back at all. They confused. They keep thinking that we're like them. They don't know why we have not retaliated. It is absolutely confusing to them. But Yahweh is bottling all that up. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. Put it in the bottle. Put it in the bottle. Oh my goodness, they killed 14. Put it in the bottle. My God, they killed 12 that time. Put it in the bottle. They ain't gonna be like, all right, it's time. See, that what you do when you want that. That's what you do. You give it to your little brother if he keep asking you for that Coca-Cola. You want a drink? And you watch it and you hear, Mom! He gave me this drink and put it all over my face. Right. Yahweh, don't worry about it. Put it in the bottle. Put it in the bottle. I got it. Don't worry about it. All that's coming out of this bottle. Don't worry about it. And when it come out, the force of which it comes out, it's going to take care of the business. Go ahead.
You know, I'm looking at this and I'm reading this, and this is where we should wake up and see that how our so-called leaders are failing us. To the NWACP, where's our comprehensive guide?
Yeah. Yeah. But see, that's part of divide and conquer. That's part of desegregation. See, by spreading us apart, you weaken them. See, if you get together, that's this. When you spread out, that's that. No man ever won a fight slapping another man. Ain't no man ever won that fight. He's just like, what you gonna do? Psst, psst, psst. You be like, this is gonna take forever. My sister fight better than this. Go ahead.
Anti-Semitism Uncovered is a carefully researched, authoritative, peer-reviewed resource that provides a concise history of anti-Semitism through the ages and definitions of 7 of the most common anti-Semitic tropes that have had remarkable staying power through the centuries. Myths about power, loyalty, greed, deceit, the blood libel, Holocaust denialism, and the newest form of anti-Semitism, anti-Zionism, and delegitimization of Israel.
Right. So if you say that they're in the land and they're not supposed to be, you're anti-Semitic. So understand all of these things. Go to the next graphic.
The guide explains the history of anti-Semitism and the myths that have helped it to endure for centuries. The first chapter provides a brief summary of anti-Semitism on a global level. The next chapter details anti-Semitism in America. Each of the following 7 chapters tackles one of the tropes. Jews have too much power. Jews are disloyal.
Now, here's the question that you have to ask at this point. You know, all of these things, which of these things that we can find that Yahweh said against Israel? So, Jews have too much power. Yahweh said that. Jews are disloyal. He sure said that. Jews are greedy. He said you're lying, greedy, dumb dogs, loving to slumber. Go ahead.
Jews like Jesus.
They killed. It said Jews killed Jesus.
Jews killed.
Where your glasses at, man?
I'm still on my own thought process.
You know, so hey, did the children of Israel not offer him up? Okay, keep going.
Jews use Christian blood for religious rituals. The Holocaust did not happen.
That really upsets people when you say the Holocaust didn't happen. Now, like we talked about in Bible study, they tell us just forget about slavery. But ain't nobody forgetting anything that has happened unto them. Go ahead.
Anti-Zionism or delegitimization of Israel. Each trope is explained using a modular format with a discussion of each myth using descriptions of its historic origin followed by contemporary examples and closing with an explanation of the faulty logic behind the anti-Semitic myths. By debunking myths and offering context for the most stubborn anti-Semitic tropes, we hope this guide will educate people, particularly those who influence the public debate about what is and what is not anti-Semitism and why. Greenblatt said, this will help prevent the greater normalization of anti-Semitism and prevent extremists from seeing a green light to act on such hatred.
All right, so all of this is about the Jew. All right, so now let's go to Revelation chapter 7.
So a quick question, this is why they want Kyrie to go do counseling.
Right, you see, because we have to re-educate you. See, we have to control how your brain works when certain things happen so that you learn not to be anti-Semitic. See, we got to teach you how not to be anti-Semitic, because see, you don't know how to think. See, once we give you a guide to thinking, then you will understand what you've done wrong, and you will curve it next time without us having to correct you. Revelation chapter 7. Now understand,
all of that, we read one definition, and then all of the rest of this comes from the Anti-Defamation League's website. Okay, so then we're going to get into this book. I want to read, because all of that was about Jew. All of this is about your feeling or your attitude or all of that toward a Jew. Okay, now let's read Revelation chapter 7. Let's start that at verse 1.
And after these things I saw 4 angels standing on the 4 corners of the earth, holding the 4 winds of the earth, that the wind should not blow on the earth, nor on the sea, nor on any tree. And I saw another angel ascending from the east, having the seal of the living El. And he cried with a loud voice to the 4 angels to whom it was given to hurt the earth and the sea, saying, Hurt not the earth, neither the sea, nor the trees, till we have sealed the servants of our Elohim in their foreheads. And I heard the number of them which were sealed, and there were sealed 144,000 of all the tribes of the children of Israel.
Wait a minute. Of all the tribes. So not just Jew. All right, read the next verse.
Of the tribe of Yehuda.
Yehuda is Judah. This is where they get Jew from. Okay, so this is the tribe. Now, it didn't say 144,000 from the tribe of Judah. All right? Judah is just one of the tribes. So when your anti-Semitism definition has only Jew in it, now we already have a problem that your definition is flawed. Go ahead.
Of the tribe of Yehuda were sealed 12,000. Of the tribe of Reuben were
see,
sealed.
you know what? I'm not anti-Semitic because see, what I did was I talked about Reuben. See, I didn't talk about a Jew.
So then the question is,
You know, brother, are you being anti-Semitic? I don't know. Are you a Jew or what tribe you from? Because it can't be anti-Semitic if you're from Reuben, Gad, Asher, or something like that. Because you're not, it's not a Jew. So are you a Jew? Can you prove that you're a Jew?
go ahead.
Of the tribe of Reuben were sealed 12,000. Of the tribe of Gad were sealed 12,000.
Right, then you can't be anti-Semitic because they're not Jews. Go ahead, keep reading.
Of the tribe of Asher were sealed 12,000.
See, this is how the definition of anti-Semitism don't even make sense. Go ahead.
Of the tribe of Naphtali were sealed 12,000. Of the tribe of Dan were sealed 12,000.
So understand, even the so-called Jews are anti-Semitic against the other tribes, because this is where, when you go in and start talking about the lost tribes of Israel, watch how they act. Oh, okay. So anti-Semitism is only about you. Go ahead.
Of the tribe of Simeon were sealed 12,000. Of the tribe of Levi were sealed 12,000. Of the tribe of Issachar were sealed 12,000. Of the tribe of Zebulun were sealed 12,000. Of the tribe of Yosef were sealed 12,000. Of the tribe of Benjamin were sealed 12,000. After this I beheld, and lo, a great multitude, which no man could number, of all nations and kindreds and people.
Of all nations, kindreds, and people. See, what the whole thing that people want to give us is only deal with this select group of individuals. Go ahead.
And languages stood before the throne and before the Lamb, clothed with white robes and palms in their hands, and cried with a loud voice, saying, Salvation to our Elohim, which sits upon the throne, and unto the Lamb. And all the angels stood round about the throne, and about the elders and the 4 beasts, and fell before the throne on their faces, and worshipped Elohim, saying, Amen, blessing and glory and wisdom and thanksgiving, and honor and power and might be unto our Elohim forever and ever. Amen. And one of the elders answered, saying unto me, What are these which are arrayed in white robes? And whence came they? And I said unto him, Sir, you know. And he said unto me, These are they which came out of great tribulation, and have washed their robes, and have made them white in the blood of the Lamb.
All right, so that's people coming outside of Israel. You have to understand how people who come outside of Israel are treated in Israel. All right, but we're going to get to that in a minute. Let's go to Zechariah chapter 12. So according to what we read, or what we just read in the New Testament, this whole thing being about Jew only doesn't make sense, because Jew represents the tribe of Judah. But there are 12 tribes of Israel. So
the New Testament does not agree with the Anti-Defamation League or Webster's definition of anti-Semitism. The Bible does not agree with that. So, at least the New Testament. So now let's read something in the Old Testament. Let's read Zechariah chapter 12, and we're going to read verses 1 through 10.
The burden of the word of Yahweh for Israel. Saith Yahweh, which stretched forth the heavens, and laid the foundation of the earth, and forms the spirit of man within him. Behold, I'll make Jerusalem a cup of trembling unto all the people round about, when they shall be in the siege, both against Yehudah and against Jerusalem. And in that day will I make Jerusalem a burdensome stone for all people. All that burden themselves with it shall be cut in pieces, though all the people of the earth be gathered together against it. In that day, says Yahweh, I'll smite every horse with astonishment, and his rider with madness. And I'll open mine eyes upon the house of Yehudah, and will smite every horse of the people with blindness. And the governors of Yehudah shall say in their heart, the inhabitants of Jerusalem shall be my strength in Yahweh of hosts, their Elohim. In that day will I make the governors of Yehudah like an hearth of fire among the wood, and like a torch of fire in a sheaf, and they shall devour all the people round about, on the right hand and on the left. And Jerusalem shall be inhabited again in her own place, even in Jerusalem.
Now, listen to this thing that he's talking about, this future prophecy that Jerusalem shall be inhabited in her own place. Now, so far, we're seeing a lot of Yehudah. So yeah, we can see, all right. So there's a lot of emphasis placed on Jew. Now keep going.
Yahweh also shall save the tents of Yehudah first.
Uh-oh. Go ahead.
That the glory of the house of David and the glory of the inhabitants of Jerusalem do not magnify themselves against Yehudah.
Now, he didn't say he was going to save Yehudah only. He said Yehudah first. But see, the powers that be only want to deal with Yehudah. And then by claiming that they are Yehudah, then they are the only ones that need to be dealt with. But that's not what this book says. He's going to save Yehudah first, not only. Go ahead.
In that day shall Yahweh defend the inhabitants of Jerusalem, and he that is feeble among them at that day shall be as David. And the house of David shall be as Elohim, as the angel of Yahweh before them. And it shall come to pass in that day that I will seek to destroy all the nations that come against Jerusalem. And I'll pour upon the house of David and upon the inhabitants of Jerusalem the spirit of grace and of supplications, and they shall look upon me whom they have pierced.
They will look upon me whom they have pierced. Now, this then lets you know that we're talking about now the return of Yahshua. They will look upon me whom they have pierced. So once again, during the time of Gentile rule, how is Israel just as high, if not higher, than the Gentile during the Gentile rule? Go ahead.
And they shall mourn for him, as one mourns for his only son, and shall be in bitterness for him, as one is in bitterness for his firstborn.
All right. So then this then presents us or leads us to a question. Can a Jew be anti-Semitic? Now, the Israelis refer to immigrants to Israel as infiltrators, which is directly against the Torah that they claim to read and practice. It is reported that Ethiopian Jews, who are the only non-white people the so-called Jews accept, they are treated unfairly by the same people who flew them over there. There are reports that infiltrators, or Ethiopian Jews, are given fertility pills to make sure that they don't procreate faster than white Jews. If you look at this, Haaretz is a Jewish publication. And it clearly outlines that they realized that they were caught doing this. So then, if these are the only people, because the Ethiopian Jews are the only other Jews that they will accept. But look at how they accept them. By forcing birth control upon them to make sure that their numbers stay in the minority, if you will. Go to the next graphic.
Discrimination. Israelis were very excited and proud to bring Ethiopian Jews to Israel and felt a particular affinity for their commitment to Judaism in exile and desire to return to Zion. Nevertheless, Ethiopians have sometimes been victims of discrimination.
Now, wait a minute. Now, this is supposed to be Jew on Jew discrimination. So then now we have anti-Semitism going on in the land that's being committed by so-called Jews. Go ahead.
Only 25% of Israelis say they want to live next to Ethiopians, and the government settled many of them in towns on Israel's periphery.
Right. So they make sure they put them on the outskirts away from other people. Go ahead.
In 2012, residents of an apartment complex in Kiryat Malaki refused to sell or rent to Ethiopians, which provoked a protest against housing discrimination. In 2015, protests erupted when a video surfaced showing two policemen beating an Ethiopian Israeli soldier while he was in uniform, highlighting what members of the community say is a pattern of police.
Now, you got police brutality in Israel. Go ahead.
Police brutality. A subsequent demonstration in Tel Aviv turned violent and 60 people were injured. After the incident, the government formed a commission to stamp out racism.
Now, I need you to pay attention to the words used. It's racism when it's against other people. Pay attention to the wording. Go ahead.
Which reported Ethiopians were discriminated against in education, medical treatment, employment, and army enlistment. Ethiopians also were victims of over-policing, aggressive tactics.
That's awfully peculiar. That sounds like the same stuff that we have going on here. That's quite peculiar. Go ahead, bro.
Aggressive tactics in response to minor violations.
Aggressive tactics to minor violation. That sounds awfully familiar. That sounds familiar. Go ahead.
And were indicted and jailed at far higher rates than other Israelis.
Indicted and jailed at higher rates. Sounds familiar too. Go ahead.
Following the publication of the report, the situation has improved, with a drop in over-policing and a significant improvement in police interactions with young Ethiopian Israelis.
All right, now you have to notice it's only called anti-Semitism when it happens to a white Jew. It's not called anti-Semitism when it happens to a black Jew. And understand, Ethiopian Jews are the only ones that they accept. They do not accept any other Jews of color. All right? Go ahead. Go to the next one.
Activists also complained that students of Ethiopian descent, even if born in Israel, fall under the jurisdiction of the Ministry of Absorption rather than the Ministry of Education.
Okay, stop. See, you have to look at the system of oppression. But it's not called anti-Semitism because it didn't happen to a white Jew. It was delivered from a white Jew. See, as long as it goes out from a white Jew, it's not anti-Semitism. It's only anti-Semitism if it comes toward a white Jew. Go ahead.
They say that their history is not being taught with the same diligence as that of other immigrant groups. In February 2018, the Israeli government ended a 30-year controversy over the status of traditional Ethiopian leaders known as Kesim by recognizing their authority to perform official religious functions and the legitimacy of their halakhic rulings. In June 2019...
This is their halakha, so then you have that they have to accept him. So it was a 30-year controversy whether or not they would allow them to perform rituals. Still, of course, rituals among one another. Whether or not it would be official. Go ahead.
But according to this, they were already doing these things while they were in Ethiopia. That's why you accepted them.
Well, understand something. They went and got these people in the 80s, man. That's why I said some of these people were born. Operation Moses, Operation Solomon. Those things happened in the 80s. They went and got them. They had the videotape showing them coming off the planes and everything. Oh, but you have now made a different set of rules regarding them. Right. Go ahead.
In June 2019, an Ethiopian soldier reported that his commander had called him a stinking Cushite, a Hebrew racial slur. The commander was relieved of duty. The same month, police killed an unarmed Ethiopian teenager, which provoked protests across Israel. This was at least the fourth Ethiopian to be killed by police since 1997.
Okay. All right. Wait. I heard one brother giggle at the stinking Cushite. Okay. Back up to the biblical name of Ethiopia. Cush. I need you to pay attention, all right, of why that was a racial slur. A stinking Cushite. All right. So pay attention to that. Don't lose that. Go ahead, brother. Let's go to the next one.
Gilad Erdan, the Minister of Internal Security, and Moti Cohen, the acting police commissioner, promised to set up a new unit to fight expressions of racism wherever they exist, and to ensure that force is used moderately and responsibly only against those who break the law.
Now, one other thing you have to notice about the system of oppression, the traditional Ethiopian leaders known as Kasim, understand, they give them a different name to make sure that it separates them from their level. Understand the purpose of the separation in the name. Go ahead.
Meanwhile, the percentage of persons of Ethiopian origin who were judged in criminal trials constituted 7.2% of the total number of residents of Israel in the Jewish and other population who were judged. The percentage of juveniles of Ethiopian origin was much higher than that of adults.
Right. But see, we have something when we get off into this book. Read from the next graphic.
You shall neither vex a stranger nor oppress him, for you are strangers in the land of Egypt.
This is directly what was given in the Torah. That's not how Israel operates in Israel. So some of the most anti-Semitism happens in Israel. And people keep talking about, I want to go to the Holy Land. If I want to be oppressed, I go right down the Candle Road. I go Memorial Drive right here. I can hop on the 34 bus and I can go get oppressed. I ain't got to cross the water to go get oppressed. I know where oppression at. It's right down the street. If I want to go if I really feel the need to get deeply oppressed, I just go in the all white area. No time flat. Excuse me, have you seen oppression? Yeah, I was looking at the schedule. It said oppression supposed to be at 8:14. Huh? It's 8:16. Oppression late. All I got to do, I ain't got to go halfway across the world to get oppressed. Let's go to the next. This thing here shows the power of this game that's being played. Go ahead, brother. Let's go to the next graphic.
Why are U.S. Jews still calling Jimmy Carter an anti-Semite?
Now, it said it was anti-Jew tropes when you said the Jews are ruling the world. When you said the Jews have all the money. Wait a minute. What was the man who owned the team that Kyrie is on? What is he? Okay. There was a report. Now, my son put me on this. He said, yeah, but they said when the owner's going to apologize because he has supported communist Russia, communist China, in selling all the stuff to help them, and they the most oppressive regime ever. When is he going to apologize for that? But he making money off his agreement with that. But he don't have to apologize for that. But this man is being held financially responsible. Now, if you can do that and you can condemn a president who has not had one controversy, how are you not ruling the world? Jimmy Carter? What scandal has Jimmy Carter had? What? He had too many peanuts in the White House. That's it. That's it. You didn't find him with no side chick. You didn't find him hiding his taxes. You didn't find, no crack cocaine up under his sofa. Nothing. They have condemned an ex-president. You know how powerful you have to be to do that? Go ahead, brother. Let's read this.
The American Jewish establishment.
Now, this is, once again, this comes from Haaretz. All right? It's a Jewish publication. All right? So if you got a problem with the content, then you probably anti-Semitic. Go ahead, brother. Read it.
Which has wrongly and perniciously attacked Jimmy Carter as an intransient foe of Israel and even a Jew hater.
Oh, my God. No, you didn't. I mean, you just went right in there, didn't you? Go ahead.
Needs to start apologizing. Call it atonement.
Now, wait a minute. This Jewish writer says the Jews need to apologize to Jimmy Carter. Okay, read, bro.
40 years after leaving the White House, Jimmy Carter, age 96, still seems to have a Jewish problem. In America and abroad, Carter is often feted as the very model of an ex-president. But among many American Jews, he is sometimes openly accused of being intransigently anti-Israel or, worse, an anti-Semite.
Now look at that. It look like Kyrie in good company. Yeah, they need Mount Semite more. You know what I'm saying? Well, you just put all the, you know what I'm saying, the brothers who've been accused of anti-Semitic, put me beside Jimmy Carter. When y'all gonna make my mountain? Go ahead.
The latter label is simply an outrage, a slander against the most decent man to have occupied the Oval Office in the 20th century.
You have to think about this now. This not Bill Clinton. This ain't Slick Willie we talking about. All right? This ain't none of them. When you can condemn Jimmy Carter, you can condemn anybody. Go ahead.
Carter's whole life is proof of his stellar personal ethics and dedication to liberal humanitarian principles.
And this is what got him in trouble, because he wanted these principles for everybody. That's where his problem came in. Go ahead.
A born-again Christian, reared in segregated white supremacist South Georgia, he has never displayed a shred of racial or religious prejudice.
You can't find out one instance of him saying anything yet. He's labeled anti-Semitic. But we're going to find out why. Keep going.
Incidentally, during his one-term presidency, some of his closest aides were prominent Jewish Americans.
That ain't good enough. Go ahead.
Including Stuart Eisenstadt, Gerald Rafshoon, Robert Lipschutz, Al Moshe, and David Rubenstein. He surrounded himself with Jews, and not to score performative points or as a shield either. So why the persistent slander? The answer, of course, is Israel, not the Jews.
All right. So if you come against Israel, and remember the definition of anti-Semitic, if you come against the legitimization of Israel, you are anti-Semitic. So keep reading.
Carter's problems began during his first year in office, when he made it clear that he was willing to sacrifice political capital in an effort to tackle the thorny problem of Arab-Israeli peace.
This now. Keep going.
That spring, he became the first U.S. president to mention the need for a Palestinian homeland.
Let's say that made him anti-Semitic right now. Because he believed, okay, you just got these people wandering around in tents and stuff like that. Of course you're going to have a problem. Give these people a place to live. You have a place to live. Everybody live in peace. That suggestion was anti-Semitic. Keep reading.
And then he offended the American Jewish establishment by trying to pressure Israel to attend peace talks at Geneva that would also include the Soviet Union. The resulting impasses inspired Anwar Sadat to make his historic trip to Jerusalem on November 19, 1977. Invited to a small White House dinner in the spring of 1978 with 8 other Jewish American leaders, Schindler listened with growing unease as Carter talked about the relative flexibility of Anwar Sadat's position and the intransigence of Israel. Carter flatly explained that the illegal settlements in the West Bank were the primary obstacle to a breakthrough in the talks.
Illegal settlements. See, now these words is causing him some problems. But they were illegal. They kept pushing and taking more of that land and making more settlements. Go ahead.
Carter, though, thought the other Jewish leaders he'd invited over were on board, with the exception of Alex Schindler.
This is a rabbi now. Go ahead.
He noted in his presidential diary, who always acts like an ass, the rest of them were constructive.
Right. See?
Even the president said, this is an ass right here. This is a rabbi. Here come a rabbi ass.
Go ahead.
When Carter became president in 1977, there were only about 5,000 Jewish settlers in the occupied West Bank.
Uh-huh.
And when he left in 1981, there were still less than 24,000 settlers. Today, that number has grown to about 700,000, including the Jewish settlements in Arab East Jerusalem, which it occupied in 1967 and formally and illegally annexed in 1980. 6 months after Schindler's run-in with Carter over West Bank settlements, the president invited Sadat and began to Camp David.
Yeah, that's a dude right there, Behin.
And
I think.
Behin.
Yeah, that's one of their leaders. Go ahead.
President invited Sadat and Behin to Camp David for 13 momentous days. In early September 1978, the result was the Camp David Accords that led the next spring to an Israeli-Egyptian peace treaty.
Israeli-Egyptian peace treaty. Go ahead.
Carter had performed a diplomatic miracle, taking Egypt off the battlefield for Israel. It would not have happened without Carter's personal involvement. That peace treaty still stands. For the next 40 years, Carter insisted that Israel's settlements were the key obstacle to peace. They were poisoning his greatest diplomatic triumph. His relentlessness on this issue has disturbed but also embarrassed American Jewish leaders. In 2006, he published a best-selling book with the provocative title, Palestine, Peace, Not Apartheid.
Now, he's telling the truth about what Israel is doing in Israel. So that means now this non-racist president is now labeled anti-Semitic because he decided that he was going to tell the truth. Go ahead.
The book was written as yet another warning that Israel could become a less than democratic Jewish state if it could not find a way to end the occupation of Palestinian territories. In the eyes of many Jewish Americans, this was a former president interfering in the decisions of Israeli leaders to do what they thought was necessary for Israeli security. From there, it was a short path to accusing him of being a Jewish hater. As Marty Perez, then editor-in-chief of the weekly The New Republic, characterized him. They were wrong about Jimmy Carter. They were wrong and Jimmy Carter was right, pardon me. The former president's decision to use the words apartheid no longer seems a stretch.
Right.
Indeed, today it seems to describe the reality on the ground in the occupied West Bank. I don't think Carter was a Jewish problem.
Carter has
a Jewish problem, partner. It's the reverse. The American Jewish establishment has a Jimmy Carter problem. And in his twilight years, with his 97th birthday coming up on October the 1st, they probably owe him an apology.
Now, my. The Jewish publication says that the Jews owe Jimmy Carter an apology. What happens? You have seen brothers paraded in the media and they being forced to apologize for the things that they have done. When are the Jews going to apologize for the things that they have done? Now let's look at a different definition of Shemite. Let's go to the next graphic.
Semite, especially British.
Now, why would they use the British term for that? Keep reading.
A member of any of a number of peoples of ancient southwestern Asia, including the Akkadians, Phoenicians, Hebrews, and Arabs.
Wait a minute. So Shemitic then means way more than just Jew. It not only includes Hebrews, it includes Arabs, Akkadians, Phoenicians. So, how is it that anybody who says anything against a Jew, and that's just one tribe, now is called anti-Semitic, and now they're in this huge bowl of hate? But only if they say something against one tribe of Israel. The definition does not agree with that. The Bible does not agree with that. Keep reading.
Their own definition says Hebrews.
Exactly.
Not even Jews.
Exactly. Hebrews, not Jews. Keep going.
A descendant of these peoples.
Uh-huh.
A member of a modern people speaking a Semitic language.
All right. Now go to another definition of Semitic.
Relating to or denoting a family of languages that includes Hebrew, Arabic, and Aramaic, and certain ancient languages such as Phoenician and Akkadian, constituting the main subgroup of the Afro-Asiatic family.
Stop right there. I need you to do it. Okay, I know some of you young people that ain't never heard of Big Daddy Kane. But Big Daddy Kane said I'm an Afro-Asiatic brother. Okay, that was part of it. See, that's why that level of hip hop had to go. Cause see, you ain't gonna find the baby talking about Afro-Asiatic. You understand? He don't even know what the hell that is. All right? That's why that level of hip hop had to be overtaken and another set of hip hop principles, implemented. Because these brothers was talking about, culture and identity. Big Daddy Kane constantly talk about Afro-Asiatic. Afro-Asiatic is in the definition of Shemitic. So then I have to then ask, is the constant push to be anti-Semitic, is it about what the person's saying, or is it more about other people declaring that they are Shemitic? Because how does everyone's statement lead back to being anti-Shemitic? And now, when I look at the definition, Afro-Asiatic, I am more Shemitic than you. How am I anti-Afro? Now, I'm anti-Afro now because I'm bald. You know what I'm saying? But I'm only anti-Afro because I can't grow one. You know what I'm saying? Okay, let's go ahead, keep reading, bro. Keep reading.
Even in this last thing with Kyrie, when they say, are you anti-Semitic? He said, how can I be anti-Semitic when I know who I am?
Exactly. So he just worded it a different way because he can't say it. I can. Keep reading. Now this is the history and etymology. Go ahead.
Relating to the peoples who speak Semitic languages, especially Hebrew and Arabic.
All right.
History and etymology of Semite. French Semite. From Sem, Shem. From late Latin, from Greek Sem. From Hebrew Shem.
So, the Hebrews, but they never used the term Shem. All right? So then, because what happens? That's going to give you a building block to grow upon. So, now since we got the etymology and the breakdown, and now we've gone to Shem, let's now go to 1 Chronicles. Let's see who Shem is. 1 Chronicles chapter 1. And we're going to read verses 17. We're going to start at verse 17, and we're going to read down to 27. Oh, I'm sorry, it's killing me. I got to go. Read verse 8. Read verse 8.
Read verse 8.
Read
First
verse 8.
Chronicles 1.
1 Chronicles 1 and verse 8.
The sons of Ham, Cush.
You stinking Cushite. Okay. All right, did y'all catch it? Okay, all right. Now go. See? Okay. All right. I'm sorry, I couldn't resist that one. Go. But see, that was a term that they pushed out. Okay. All right. Go to jump to verse 17.
The sons of Shem.
Sons of Shem.
Elam.
All right. So we see that Semite is actually Shemite, and then we broke that down to Shem, and now we're reading the sons of Shem. Go ahead.
Elam, and Asher, and Arphaxad, and Lud, and Aram, and Uz, and Hul, and Gether, and Meshach. And Arphaxad begat Shelah, and Shelah begat Eber. And unto Eber were born two sons. The name of one was Peleg, because in his days the earth was divided, and his brother's name was Yoktan. And Yoktan begat Almodad, and Sheleph, and Hazmerveth, and Yerah. Hadoram also, and Uzal, and Diklah, and Ebal, and Abimael, and Sheba, and Ophir, and Havilah, and Jobab. All these were the sons of Yoktan. Shem, Arphaxad, Shelah, Eber, Peleg, Reu, Serug, Nahor, Terah, Abram, the same as Abraham.
Abram, the same as Abraham. So Shem then is the lineage of Abraham. So when they say anti-Semitic, they are saying you are anti-Abraham. Whoo! That's pretty deep, ain't it? Keep going. I want you to jump. That was did you read
Verse 28.
Read 28, and then we're gonna jump to 34.
The sons of Abraham, Esaac, and Ishmael.
Now jump to verse 34.
And Abraham begot Esau, the sons of Esau, Esau, and Israel.
So this is how anti-Semitic gets to Israel. But when you back up, it's got to go through all these other things before it gets to Israel. So when somebody accuses you to be anti-Semitic, they are either accusing you to be against one or all of these individuals. How does that then go to just being Jew? The definition in secular does not agree with it, and what we read out of the book does not agree with it. Whose definition is this? The scripture does not agree with it. Secular history does not agree with it. Then it is a made-up term that they get to enforce however they choose. But etymology does not agree with it. For somebody to be anti-Semitic, they are against the entire line of Abraham. Now the bigger question is, if we examine the lineage of those who came out of Germany, do I find your lineage in this lineage of Shem? I'm only asking a question. Since all of this is about questions, I ask a question. Where is your lineage through Shem? But let us hear the conclusion of this matter. Let's go to Ezekiel chapter 37. See, if you don't have full understanding of something, then you will let somebody push you into a corner. But once you have understanding of something, you cannot be pushed into a corner.
Ezekiel chapter 37 and verse 15. The word of Yahweh came again unto me, saying, Moreover, you son of man, take you one stick and write upon it, for Yehudah and for the children of Israel his companions. Then take another stick.
Now what's this other stick now? Wait a minute, we got Judah, that's all we need. This is what the powers that be want. But there's another stick. Go ahead.
Then take another stick and write upon it, for Yosef, the stick of Ephraim, and for all the house of Israel his companions.
Remember now, the Ethiopians, they called them Beta Israel. Go ahead.
And join them one to another into one stick, and they shall become one in your hand.
This is not what the powers that be want.
They don't want to combine anything. They want all the power for the so-called one tribe that they are. They don't want anybody else in this story. Go ahead.
You know, it's funny you just say Beta Israel. I'm thinking about the record. You got the A side and the B side.
Yeah. That's what they tell me. You B team. You don't get in unless we get hurt. Go ahead.
And when the children of your people shall speak unto you, saying, will you not show us what you mean by these? Say unto them, thus says the Adonai, behold, I'll take the stick of Joseph, which is in the hand of Ephraim, and the tribes of Israel his fellows, and will put them with him, even with the stick of Yehuda, and make them one stick, and they shall be one in mine hand.
Right. It will not be all of this division. And anywhere where colonialism has been set up, there's division. Take a look at Israel and see all the division that's happening there. Remember the one guy who they made sell his team, who made the lady recorded him? He said all this anti-black stuff. Had Magic Johnson. He was talking about him. He said, you know, there are white Jews and there are black Jews. The black Jews are less than dogs. They were embarrassed that he got caught. He let you know that even now, understand this is another Jewish owner of a team, by the way, okay? But I'm persecuted. Life is so hard. I don't know where I'm gonna spend all these billions. Life is so hard for me. All day, all I gotta do is count all this dang money. So tired of counting money, I don't know what to do. We would love to have that problem. It's like, what you been doing? Boy, I've been counting money all day. You ain't never called. Have you ever called me and I said that to you?
No.
Okay. Okay. All right. I'm just trying to see if maybe I forgot. Yeah. Go ahead, brother.
And the sticks whereon you writeth shall be in your hand before their eyes. And say unto them, thus says the Adonai, behold, I'll take the children of Israel from among the heathen, whither they be gone, and will gather them on every side and bring them into their own land.
Wait a minute. Why does he keep talking about bringing them into their own land if they already there? Go ahead.
And I'll make them one nation in the land upon the mountains of Israel.
Right, so it won't be all of this focus on Jew. It's going to be focused on Israelite, all 12 tribes. Go ahead.
And one king shall be king to them all, and they shall be no more two nations, neither shall they be divided into two kingdoms any more at all. Neither shall they defile themselves any more with their idols, nor with their detestable things, nor with any of their transgressions. But I'll save them out of all their dwelling places when they have sinned, and will cleanse them. So shall they be my people, and I'll be their Elohim. And David my servant shall be king over them, and they all shall have one shepherd. They shall also walk in my judgments, and observe my statutes, and do them. And they shall dwell in the land that I have given unto Jacob my servant, wherein your fathers have dwelt, and they shall dwell therein, even they and their children and their children's children forever. And my servant David shall be their prince forever. Moreover, I'll make a covenant of peace with them. It shall be an everlasting covenant with them, and I'll place them and multiply them, and will set my sanctuary in the midst of them forevermore.
I will make a covenant of peace with them. I keep telling people, if I want to go get oppressed, I don't have to go all the way to Israel. They're oppressing everything that's not white and Jewish. And if you say something about the oppression that you have received, now you become anti-Semitic because you spoke out against what happened to you. But he said, I'm going to make a covenant of peace when my people get back. Where is the peace if the people's supposed to be back? The Torah says, you must be kind unto the stranger, for you was once a stranger. Where is that in Israel? Go ahead.
I mean, the question is, where's the king that's over him? Where's Prince David?
Hey,
They back in the land, right?
wait a little minute. They'll create one. just give it a minute. They probably making him now. They're probably sewing him up, man. Go ahead.
And I'll set my sanctuary in the midst of them forevermore. My tabernacle also shall be with them. Yes, I'll be their Elohim, and they shall be my people. And the heathen shall know that I, Yahweh, do sanctify Israel, when my sanctuary shall be in the midst of them forevermore.
And one of the things, Israel, pay attention when all of this propaganda in the media game comes. If you notice, all of the emphasis was placed on two of these brothers that have made these statements. You realize that they have talked constantly about the situation, but there has not been one mention of the name of the documentary that all of this was about. See, that would give more people an opportunity to hear what it is. So, learn from the playbook. When this ever happens, if this ever happens to you, none of these people mentioned the documentary. If you ever find yourself in a situation, mention the thing that they don't want to mention every time they ask you a question. If the problem is, Esau and them made that Esau the imposter and they such and such and such, every time you answer a question, mention it. Oh, you anti-Semitic? Well, see, in Esau the imposter, see, right around paragraph 12, see, what happened was, sir, do you believe that this such and such? Now, see, in Esau the imposter, what I believe is, I'm just trying to show you how to survive. It says, be you, as harmless as doves. But you got to be wise as a serpent. You can't go among snakes and be weak. Pay attention, Israel. That's all that we're going to do for today. Remember the Sabbath to keep it holy. Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom.